Welcome to the Wellness and Beyond podcast, where we explore the challenges and opportunities facing the pharma and wellness industry today. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Pipa, the director from Ahlyna, the cutting edge sister company of Symogen Limited. Ahlyna is a revolutionary pharmacovigilance, data analytics, and regulatory services for the global biotech and pharma sectors, with a strong focus on the Asia Pacific region. Welcome, Dr. Pipa. How are
Thank you,
you?
Elizabeth, and thank you for having me here today. I'm good.
That's good. What would you say? Let's start with right at the beginning. What made you start Ahlyna?
As a pharmaceutical physician, I've been in the industry for the last 28 years, working for the industry. My first job in the industry was in Pfizer, and then I moved from Pfizer to GSK, which is a British company, a huge conglomerate based out of London. And then I moved to Amgen in California, Thousand Oaks. And what got me interested was I got my training in pharmacovigilance, which is pharmaco meaning pharmaceuticals and vigilance meaning keeping a vigil on the safety of the medications that patients are prescribed and they take. We all know that every medication has an adverse drug reaction, whether it can be non-serious, which is very normal and common, which may be just nausea or vomiting or maybe diarrhea, and which can be controlled. But what we do not know is the bizarre reactions which happen after taking a medication, which can be serious and life-threatening, and patient may die. So you would not die because of your disease, but you would die of your medications. And this is very common. In fact, in 2025, adverse drug reactions was the third largest cause of death in the United States.
Oh.
Well, many would not know this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is again an underreported statement. Doctors don't report, patients don't report that they had an adverse drug reaction because many patients do not understand whether it is because of their disease that they're having this event or whether it is the drug causing the event. And the doctors, because they do not have enough time to go through all this, what they would do is, okay, fine, you had an adverse drug reaction. We can control it. We'll stop the drug and put you on another drug, or we will give you another drug to stop it, which doesn't help because when you are taking too many medications, which is known as polypharmacy in our language,
Yeah.
you have drug-drug interactions. So one drug will react with another drug and will cause adverse drug reactions that can be really frightening and causing more harm than making you feel better. So that is what got me interested. My initial training was at the Drug Safety Research Unit at Southampton in the UK. So I've been living in the UK for the last 35 years. And I switched from I trained myself in I had my postgraduate training in medicine and cardiology. But then I wanted to move towards pharmaceutical medicine because whilst at King's College Hospital in the vascular department where I was working, I got interested with seeing large clinical trials doing so much better to the patients that I got interested in that. And so I moved to the pharmaceutical industry. And there I saw, instead of joining medical affairs or doing clinical trials, I chose to go into into pharmacovigilance and drug safety because I could see the patient notes, which actually behaved like patients to me in front of me, and put in the puzzle whether it is the drug causing the event or whether it is the disease causing the event that is happening. So we had to do a lot of analytics. And we, in the pharmaceutical industry, we used to get loads, thousands and millions of patient data to go through data analytics of all the patients to figure out whether this drug has caused this event. And if this drug has caused that event, how can we switch that drug to something better so that the patients would not, get the feel the harm or whatever it is. And that got me interested, and that's how I moved to the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow, what an interesting journey.
No,
What is
please.
the biggest mistake that you see companies make when trying to scale their operations into the Asia Pacific region?
A very good question, actually. I think I can answer for my specialty, which is pharmacovigilance. And I feel that most of the pharmacovigilance, which is the safety of medicines, is much more grounded and advanced, actually, in the Western world compared to the other parts of the world, actually. It's not only Asia Pacific, but also Africa, the Middle East, everywhere. The whole belt, if you take Middle East and North Africa region, and then come down to the Asia Pacific and Asia as a whole, very little of pharmacovigilance is done in this part of the world. One is because the training and the education hasn't been imparted that well, but with clinical trials now getting more and more in Asia, I think there is a little bit of more knowledge and advancement in pharmacovigilance here in the Asia Pacific region. What got me
Yeah.
interested was doing a series of workouts for patient for signal detection. Signal detection in the sense is what is the signal that we have found that caused the adverse drug reaction. So while doing that, there was this patient who was an Asian, a Singaporean lady who had Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Now, Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a serious form of dermatological reactions on a patient who had taken just amoxicillin, actually, just a simple antibiotic, and where the whole of the body skin gets peeled off. And it's so serious that you actually might die from that syndrome. So, what happened? This patient was also pregnant. I think she was 6 months pregnant. She was in her mid trimester, and she was obviously admitted to the intensive care unit for her treatment. And we actually thought that we lose the patient. Just a simple antibiotic for a urinary tract infection that she took off the counter, and taken it by herself. And what was dangerous is she didn't go to a doctor for a prescription.
I was just going to say, are you supposed to get a prescription for amoxicillin?
Yes. No. So if you go to India, for example, India is in Asia, and
Uh, you don't need,
you can go to a pharmacy and just say that, can I have amoxicillin? The pharmacist is going to give you just off the counter.
okay, not here. You won't get that here.
So that is the issue in some countries where you can, just go to your pharmacy and ask for a
Mm.
medication. They would give it to you. Antibiotics. One of the problems with antibiotics is they do not understand a antimicrobial resistance, which develops. The pharmacist would hand it over to you. You take for 2 days, you feel better, then you stop. You think, I'm okay, and there is no issue at all.
Mm.
Then comes the reaction. You see your peeling of your thing. Initially, you would think, what is this? But then it seriously becomes so fast and so quick that you have to get admitted into, into a hospital. And because she was pregnant, it was more worrisome. And these were the case notes that I was reading, the information that came to me to look into. And I was wondering, this lady who had taken this medication without knowing anything, and the doctor not going to a doctor for a medication, I wonder whether she'll survive. 3 months she was in the ICU. She survived.
Wow.
Her baby survived. Both of them
Wow.
survived. But what got us interested was there are genetic predisposition also to these medications that we take. So if there
Mm.
is a genetic component within us which is absent, then your adverse drug reactions get worse. Goes into a life threatening mode where you can die. And we needed to understand that. So as a follow up, I ordered for a genetic profile. And what we found was there was a genetic component which was absent, because When we take a medication, it follows a path within our body, and that the liver is the storehouse of the metabolic process, and the metabolism goes on there. But there are a lot of genetic codings and metabolic pathways where things are either there or not there. Either I can be a slow metabolizer, where after taking a drug, my drug, instead of clearing the half-life and then going to the excretory pathway through the kidney, can still sit in my liver and be there for 24 hours, but I wouldn't know that. And I would take my second dose. So it's the same thing. It will accumulate, and I will have more chances of having a reaction, severe reaction. Whereas if you do not, some people who are fast metabolizers, they will take a drug where the drug doesn't reach the optimal level, and it before that only it goes to the excretory system, to the kidney, and it goes out of your system. Now, what happens? Because the efficacy then is not there, because the time to for the drug to act on your body is not happening. It's occurring faster than it should be. So that is what is either we do not know whether we are slow metabolizers or fast metabolizer, whether cytochrome P450, there are many of them in our liver, which is there or absent or partial or completely absent. We have no idea. So when we did her genetic profile, we found that a certain CYP450 enzyme was absent, and that triggered the event of Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And now we have incorporated in many centers personalized medicine, where doctors, they can order for a genetic profile and understand if there is any of the abnormalities there, or any CYP inhibitors are absent, or you're a fast metabolizer or a slow metabolizer, and then prescribe the drug so that it doesn't harm you that much.
Now, that's fascinating because we won't know if we are fast slow metabolism unless we do the test, correct? And who's going to do that? Because it costs money.
Absolutely.
And that patient, was the child affected with the unborn the baby? Was the baby affected?
No, the baby was perfectly fine. She delivered the healthy baby after 3 months. She was 6 months pregnant, and it was an uneventful pregnancy. She delivered. But we did suggest to the gynecologist, obstetrician actually, to have a genetic profile for the baby as well. Because 50% chances are that the baby might have also an issue.
Yeah. And the mother's skin, how long did it take for it to recover? 3 months, you said.
Yeah, I mean, I had hoped that she would pass away any day, because her condition was such that it was terrifying, actually. I wish I could show you a picture of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and where the whole skin and your epidermal layer is peeled off and you have nothing, actually. But she survived. She was in the ICU and she survived, which was great. But then this shouldn't happen with just a common antibiotic. But there are drugs which causes severe harm, and it is written on the package leaflet, which we write as physicians and scientists while doing our research and looking into the drug and studying the drug thoroughly with lots of patient data and all. We write down all the adverse drug reactions that can happen, the serious ones, the non-serious ones, the very rare ones, and that is put into the package insert. So people need to read, and so do the doctors. But none of us read it, right?
No, because it's too scary.
It is too scary. We do not understand. I wouldn't understand many things if it was written in medical terminology. So for patients, in this patient information leaflet, we actually send it out to get it to the patient lay language terms.
Yeah.
Where the reading age should be about 8 years old, and they should understand. Anyone should understand. So that is how it is.
Scary that amoxicillin could do that.
Yeah, it's simple medication, and not only amoxicillin. If you, there are many drugs I can tell you that, say you are taking drugs for your heart condition, right? Say you have heart failure and you have taking drug for your heart condition, and you are and you love having grape juice. Yeah, grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice is a huge inducer of these drugs,
Right.
calcium channel blockers. So that interacts, the food that you take, the drink that you drink can actually have an impact on your.
Yeah. It's the same thing with alcohol. People drink alcohol with tablets and think it's fine. It's not fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not
So
fine at all. I mean, we as physicians, we tell the patients to be off. So a very common drug called metronidazole,
yeah,
which is used for fungal infections and yeah. Now, if you have alcohol with it, you have serious reactions. Serious reactions. Many people don't know. So they think that, oh, I had this tummy upset and I'm just taking a course of metronidazole and I go for a party and I have a little alcohol. Well, you shouldn't be, because I think the doctor should, mention it while prescribing. But
mm,
more than that, I think patients try sometimes to go off and say, "Oh, nothing is going to happen. I'll just have just a glass of wine or something like that, and it will should be fine." But obviously, there are detrimental effects to it.
exactly. So you do really interesting work. How do you go about? Obviously, Ahlyna is a newer company, and Symogen's been around for a long time. How do you go about acquiring new clients for Ahlyna?
That's a challenge here in the in Asia Pacific, because there are no systems and processes built here. So even for the larger companies, for example, GSK or Amgen or any big companies, we have a common database where all the reports are which are reported to the pharmaceutical company for any drug that they manufacture gets logged in. But there are very few reports from this region, Asian region, and compared to the Western region. And that is a big challenge, because people here who live here, they have the same reactions, they have the same issues, but they do not know what to do, because they do not have enough data to see whether there is an issue with that drug in certain population or some genetic predisposition, because the genetic profile can be different in the Caucasian population and in the Asian population. So that needs to be looked into. And unless and until we have enough data to look into the effects of it becomes very difficult for them to not prescribe. Doctors do prescribe, but to treat when they have life-threatening adverse drug reactions. So part of my startup here is in psychiatric mental health illness in women, because I have a doctorate in medicine from Southampton in psychiatric pharmacoepidemiology. Now, I wanted to look into the mental health aspects of women here in Asia. Say, for example, Singapore. I was horrified actually to see that 60% of both men and women combined have on mental health drugs. Now, mental health drugs, when you take, it not only has effects on your brain and your nervous system and all, but it also affects your heart. A very common side effect of adverse drug reaction in mental health patients is um, arrhythmia and cardiometabolic syndrome. Whereas where you will go on, there's an exacerbation of weight gain in those patients, leading to insulin resistance, where you develop diabetes. And that is another cause which affects your heart, but otherwise as well, also separately, there is cardiac conduction defects and all. So this is not the disease that is causing the issue. It is the drugs that is causing the issues. So that you are taking the medication for one illness, but you then go on to have several secondary illnesses.
Do you use any AI in your business?
Yes. So we use generative AI in our business, and we use deep tech. We have been using this for the last 20 odd years, actually, in the pharmaceutical industry. All our databases are automated, because The sheer amount of data that comes in to a pharmaceutical company is enormous, and you cannot actually. So we have our silos. For example, I used to look into vaccines for pediatric population when I used to work for Wyeth, which is now Pfizer. And there we saw that we had lost some young infants because of vaccine related side effects. And so we look into those in silos. So you are given a group of drugs, and then when I moved to GSK, I was looking after the entire respiratory therapeutic area. Now, respiratory therapeutic area, it consists of a lot of drugs that we take, but also inhalers, which are actually a device and a drug combination. So you have the inhalers, which is the device, and the canister within the device, which contains the drug, which is the solution that you breathe in, take in, inhale.